If you thought April was intense, May is about to change the game. With planetary shifts into Taurus and Gemini and Venus entering Cancer, the energy is completely different. Throw in 3 lunations and Mercury Cazimi, and we get a powerful month ahead. Let's take a closer look and break this down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer and astrology teacher. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you keep coming back but you haven't subscribed yet, please do leave me a like, a comment, press that notification bell. Show your support by saying thank you, buying me a tea, a coffee, any croissant, any gift of appreciation is great. It goes to show you what is on my mind at any given time, talking about croissants. So yeah. Press the subscribe, say thank you, hype the video, share it with people you know and love, and of course, visit anastasia.astrology.com to book a reading to work with me in person. I do a variety of readings: natal, predictive, relationship, electional astrology. I can do a horary reading for you, answering specific questions, and help you figure out the best place in the world you should move to. I'm also teaching. My natal astrology class begins in September, only a few months away. Sign up to learn how to read charts and understand yourself better and build better relationships with people in your life. Additionally, since we're talking about Taurus season, Taurus energy, I'd love to highlight my Exalted Moon candle. This one captures the beautiful moon in Taurus. It's decorated with silver foil, and it can boost stability, increase your manifestation powers, and create abundance in your life. Highly recommend this for May, since we are in Taurus season. Anyone who's born with their moon in Scorpio or Capricorn, this could be a highly supportive energy for your emotionally intense or hardworking moon. So April was intense. We've had so many planets in Aries. At some point, 6 planets in Aries plus Chiron in Aries. It was all fiery and dramatic and friction-filled and intense, right? It probably given you a lot of energy to solve problems, but potentially created problems or escalated some situations. May has, on one hand, a more soothing energy, so it changes things in that regard, but it also brings 3 lunations. We have the full moon in Scorpio and full moon in Sagittarius. We have a new moon in Taurus, so there's a lot going on. We have Mars changing signs, Venus changing signs, Mercury, the sun. There's a lot of things happening. So we're going to take a look at the month chronologically, as I usually do, and then take a look at the most important events through the lens of the 12 zodiac signs. So we start with a full moon in Scorpio on Friday, May 1st. It is at 11 degrees 20 minutes Scorpio, so important if you have planets between 8 and 14 degrees of the fixed sign, Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, or Leo. It brings opportunity to express deep feelings. The ruler is still Mars in Aries. And it can bring intense emotions, right? It's also completing chapters started in late November 2025 and offers you a chance to examine any outdated emotional patterns, release difficult relationships, process unresolved pain and hardship, and embrace more intimacy and vulnerability, right? Because through releasing old baggage, the emotions and feelings that you've been carrying with you for a long time, you can make space for new beginnings. On the same day, May 1st, we have Venus in a sextile to Saturn, a really good transit for commitment, new relationships, dating, having important conversations, building partnerships, building business agreements, signing any contracts, negotiations. Quite a lovely transit to have. I know actually someone who's getting married on the 2nd, so good vibes all around. On May 2nd, we have Mercury entering Taurus, where the planet of the mind and communication will stay until May 17th. Encouraging you to be more grounded in your communication, slow down, be more rational and realistic. You can use your mind, and you direct your mind towards making money, creating stability in your life. You are more able to savor the moment, and you're better at communicating creatively as well. On May 4th, Mars squares Jupiter. This is active 4 days before, 4 days after, and while it could be exciting and powerful for starting new projects, it can also suggest a tendency to overexert yourself and feel spread out in too many directions. Mars is in Aries. There may be desire to just dive into things and like focus on independence and oneself, and Jupiter is in Cancer, and you are growing through slow and steady approach. You're family oriented, and so maybe you're trying to navigate getting your goals accomplished and getting your needs met, or getting your family desires under control, right? Building a home or doing something with a family. And so watch out for doing too many things. Use moderation, practice moderation, forethought, and be strategic about things. You can be quite lucky at this time, especially if you choose your fights carefully and choose your battles and goals carefully. On May 5th, Mercury squares Pluto. That could lead to secrets coming to light, intense conversations, power struggles, manipulation in conversations. So be careful about what you say. Be careful about contracts you sign around this time and agreements you make with other people. I would recommend that you just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and watch out falling victim to people who want to take advantage of you. On May 6th, Pluto goes retrograde, and it will be retrograde until October 15th, 2026, moving backwards from 5 degrees 30 minutes of Aquarius to 3 degrees 44 minutes of Aquarius. So if you have planets between 3 and 5 degrees, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, this is significant for you because Pluto would have made an aspect to your planets once. Now it's retrograding, so it's going to aspect them a second time, and then the third time when it goes direct. Pluto retrograde tends to create deeper awareness of power struggles in your life, and you will see this more if you have planets at those sort of hot degrees that I mentioned, versus if you don't have any planets there, you might just be like, Pluto retrograde, doesn't really matter a ton. But when Pluto is direct, you're facing challenges outside of yourself. When Pluto is retrograde, you're facing challenges within yourself. So instead of someone else trying to manipulate you, let's say you're having to deal with your own fears, insecurities, bad habits, tendency to be overly guarded or not guarded enough. So Pluto retrograde can actually help you transform things within yourself, because everything starts within. It starts inside of you. Between May 10th and 14th, we have a few lovely transits in a row. So on May 10th, Sun sextiles Jupiter. On the 13th, Mercury sextiles Jupiter. On the 14th, we get the Mercury Cazimi, which is the exact Sun-Mercury conjunction. And so the Sun and Mercury are traveling together, and they're sextiling Jupiter. This can bring optimism. This can bring hopefulness. This can bring opportunities to solve some of the conflicts that maybe happened in your life and affected some of your relationships in April. May has a better energy, right? Better sort of shift in your life. So there may be opportunities for growth around this time, opportunities for compromise and accord. There may be good news. There may be insights. With the Mercury Cazimi in Taurus, we're thinking of insights in regards to creating more stability in your life, maybe finances, home, family, living situation, opportunities to enjoy life a little bit more, build relationships, and garden, bake. Good habits, let's say, good sort of skills and passions coming into your life that feel nurturing and rewarding. On May 16th, we get our second lunation of the month, 2 out of 3, and that is a new moon in Taurus at 25 degrees 57 minutes Taurus. So note whether you have planets around 22, 28, 29, even degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. This new moon continues the energy that I just mentioned, right? It wants you to birth new things. Taurus in the northern hemisphere is the middle of spring, Taurus season. So there is growth, there is focus on planting seeds, growing your crops, growing your relationships. I just bumped my microphone, forgive me. So opportunities to plant seeds and initiate relationships, partnerships, investments that bring growth and financial abundance are quite likely. The ruler is Venus in Gemini, so she might also remind you of the importance of communication and playfulness in love and business, love and life. On May 17th, Mercury enters Gemini. Love this. Mercury is in its home sign in Gemini. It's going to stay here until the 1st of June. Really communicative, curious, adaptable, flexible transit. Really good for brainstorming new ideas, going on social media, filming videos, on posting things on TikTok, you know. Gemini will prefer sort of short videos because it may have a shorter attention span, but you will really shine brightly in like short form video posting, trivia games, writing, anything where you need to be able to be observant, adaptable, and come up with multitude of ideas. As Mercury enters Gemini, it of course conjoins Uranus pretty much immediately on the same day, May 17th. So that could lead to even more sparkling of new ideas and enthusiasm. I'm excited about this one because generally Mercury in Gemini is supportive for navigating challenges, and we're going to have some Venus square Saturn, Mars square Pluto in late May, which Mercury in Gemini could be helpful for. But I think Mercury conjunct Uranus, the two kind of like each other. Like Mercury is the scientist that has all the facts, and Uranus is this troublemaker who can take the facts and build a new future-oriented device, right? Think of these like spy movies and James Bond getting new gear from his smart sidekick, right? Something along those lines. So Mercury conjunct Uranus can bring like new inventions, unexpected news, realizations, breakthroughs in thinking. Just watch out for rushing into things, right? Making mistakes when sending emails, breaking your technological devices. Move steadily. It's going to be hard to move slowly, but just don't force things. On May 18th, Mars enters Taurus. We'll stay there until June 28th. Mars is kind of more interested in laying in the field smelling flowers than fighting and battling it out in Taurus. It is considered to be in its detriment. So there may be some issues you may face around this time is dealing with sort of passive aggression or struggling to motivate yourself, struggling to stand up for yourself. However, there is a lot of patience to Mars and Taurus. There is longevity, perseverance. So all the projects you've initiated with Mars and Aries in April and the first half of May, you now have the ability to slowly and steadily build upon. So I like it for that. I like it for kind of continuing to do what got started earlier and not giving up. On May 18th, also Venus enters Cancer. We'll stay there until June 13th. This is a beautiful change. Venus will be in Cancer together with Jupiter. And she's nurturing, she's loving, she's protective of people she loves. If you're seeking a relationship at this time, you're more likely to meet someone who will take good care of you and will be emotionally mature. Maybe, you know, sometimes with Venus in Cancer, there's a little bit too much sensitivity and not enough objectivity about things, and a tendency to be maybe too nostalgic or too connect to people and like never forget them because it's a water sign. And you gotta watch out for a little bit of that. And also I think with Mars in Taurus being ruled by this Venus, like being passive aggressive and just not saying things can be quite common, but it's also very like dedicated, caring, attentive. And because Jupiter is in Cancer at the same time, it's just magical, fertile, very fertile transit. So do with that what you want, what you may. Doesn't need to be baby fertility. It could just be, you know, creative fertility and new beginnings in that way as well. So May 19th, we have Mercury sextiling Neptune and trining Pluto. This can give your speech sensitivity, compassion, and at the same time, intuition and good ability to be like sensitive to what other people expect and then able to use it to your advantage. So if you need to ask for favors, if you need to negotiate for something, if you need to present your case in front of a judge, that could be a good transit for that. Writing, creative writing or otherwise. And Venus sextile Mars on the same day is just a beautiful transit for dating and love and romance and socializing and creative transit too. On May 20th, the Sun enters Gemini. Will stay here until June 21st, 2026. This is you know, the Gemini season tends to be all about going out there, connecting with people, facing the duality of life, being excited by new possibilities, new ideas, and being more open to them. However, the energy might be scattered. There might be a tendency to get too overwhelmed by multitude of possibilities and not choose anything. Just beware of that. On Friday, May 22nd, we have Venus squaring Neptune. That can lead to disappointment, confusion, uncertainty in love, maybe self-doubt. Beware of being too critical of yourself, and maybe do what needs to be done to boost your confidence, nurture yourself around that time. The Sun conjoins Uranus on May 22nd, giving us a Uranus Cazimi. A chance to implement change with your sense of self, the chance to express your originality, express your inventiveness, and show the world a different you, and maybe bring some technology, AI, futuristic ideas into your everyday life. Mercury sextiles Saturn on the 22nd of May, which could be quite good for problem solving. It will be easier to file paperwork and keep track of all the little details and data and write things and double check, spell check everything. So it's a good time for exams, teaching, learning, document filing, even travel could potentially be good, especially if you're traveling for work. On May 24th, the Sun sextiles Neptune. Could be a boost to your empathy, a desire to volunteer, serve people, help your community. So it could be good for spiritual work and group activities. On May 26th, we have a bit of a dramatic transit as Mars squares Pluto, 4 days before, 4 days after. Yeah, I don't like Mars square Pluto. If Mars is the warrior, Pluto is the the adversary with a whole bunch of guns and firepower, and so it can bring a lot of, it's like the tension and conflicts can escalate around this time. There could be explosive, dramatic interactions, power struggles, confrontations. It's kind of like fighting on steroids a little bit. So try to be high-minded, avoid threatening other people or coming on too forceful. Let's not forget Mars being in Taurus does suggest this tendency to be passive-aggressive, because we don't want to deal with conflict, but Mars still needs an outlet. So there might be this tendency to be angry, but not openly. So you kind of have to watch out for that. We do have the Sun trining Pluto around the same time, and that could be helpful, especially because Mars is squaring Pluto and the Sun is trining Pluto. So if you're staying objective and rational and staying generous and open-minded with the Sun in Gemini, there could be opportunities to solve problems, because the Sun is kind of stepping in and lending a helping hand, which might literally suggest that you find yourself in a situation that could escalate and get dramatic, but somebody steps in and helps you. Maybe an elder or an authority figure or somebody you trust and respect. On May 28th, Venus squares Saturn 3 days before, 3 days after. This will serve to test your relationships, your romantic connections, your business connections. There may be some obstacles that arise suddenly and put pressure on your plans or your commitments. And if you are ready and willing to work through them, the relationships will grow stronger. But if things are built on a weak foundation, this could be the time that brings an end to a relationship, or some kind of difficult situation can get exposed and end at this time. On May 31st at 4:44 a.m., for those of you who like angel numbers, we have a full moon in 9 degrees 55 minutes Sagittarius, the most important for people with planets between 6 and 13 degrees of mutable signs: Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces. And this full moon brings ending and transformations to the chapters that got started with the new moon in Sagittarius in December 2025, and offers you a chance to examine your beliefs and maybe educational pursuits, travel plans, relationships with teachers, and figure out which ones do not serve you anymore. Because the full moon in Sagittarius might have these very spiritual, philosophical attitudes to it, philosophical energy to it. I'm going to take a look at the 12 signs. I recommend listening to your rising sign, because rising sign tends to be the most accurate, in my opinion. If you do not have it or don't resonate with it, listen for your sun or moon. But rising sign determines the beginning of your chart and where the transits fall. For more personal advice, if you feel like these general readings do not resonate with you, they cannot resonate with everyone, because I am just a voice that translates the celestial bodies and celestial events. I would recommend booking a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, because then we can look at your specific chart, your planets, your patterns, and figure things out. You can also join my upcoming natal astrology course on there. We start in September. So for the beautiful Aries rising, April was packed with action. You've focused on yourself. You maybe had to balance some relationship matters with a full moon in Libra, but a lot of it was about your willpower, your health, your identity, and your assertiveness, right? We also had some opportunities financially, perhaps, or maybe more spending with Venus and Taurus. And at the end of the month, as Venus and Uranus entered your third house, you could have experienced excitement and opportunities to innovate your everyday life, or start a business, or communicate about something significant. So in May, Mars and Mercury, for the first couple of days of the month, Mars until May 18th, Neptune and Saturn are still in Aries, your first house. So you're continuing to work on yourself. You're maybe even dealing with a little bit less obstacles this time around compared to April. You're continuing to exercise, you're taking care of your body, you are starting personal projects. Watch out for doing too many things early in the month, between the 1st and the 8th of the month, as Mars squares Jupiter, and you're having to deal with the questions that involve home and family situation that maybe somehow contradict your personal projects. So try to move slowly. On the 1st of the month, we have the full moon in Scorpio, your 8th house, which is ruled by Mars in Aries in your 1st. The full moon in Scorpio completes chapters from October 2025, and it offers you a chance, November 20th, 2025. And it offers you an opportunity to pay off some debts, to look closely and honestly at contracts you have signed in the last 6 months, commitments you have made, and figure out which situations, which even spendings, maybe you have a bunch of subscriptions to things, what doesn't serve you anymore. So there will be an opportunity to let that go and maybe figure out which commitments and relationships require more time and effort on your part. With the full moon in the 8th, you may also see change around inheritance, some money that is owed to you or money that you owe to other people. And it's always the house of sort of, healing. Maybe somebody passed away, or you haven't processed some kind of wound. So it can also be a deeply emotional time when you realize what you have outgrown. Yeah, patterns around like self-sabotage may be coming up for you too. As you're cleaning that sector of your chart, right, you're also building financial abundance. Uranus is out of Taurus, out of your 2nd house. You now can experience more stability with money that's coming in. You're maybe investing into yourself. You're investing in your business. Studying new things. There are some supportive sextiles with Jupiter from the Sun and Mercury in your 4th house. Maybe you're investing into your living situation, moving to a place that feels more nurturing and supportive, getting support from family members. Maybe they're helping you buy property at this time. There's a good energy flow. And in the middle of the month, on the 14th, we get Mercury Cazimi, and then on the 16th, we get a new moon in Taurus. So this is perfect for creating inner self-worth and working on believing in yourself, but also really good time for launching a business, asking for a raise, making even some kind of investment in yourself, maybe taking a writing class if you're trying to become a writer, taking an astrology class. My next course begins in September, and it will be all about natal astrology. Just a little plug. It's kind of like, it's very much about inner belief that you deserve things, and then outer reality stepping up to match what you believe. Pluto goes retrograde in your 11th house of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams between May 6th and October 15th this year. And so this could be a good time to reflect on power and control issues in your friendships. Maybe examine which friendships feel authentic and supportive, and which ones of your friends really support your soul searching versus which ones are jealous or controlling or don't have your best interest at heart. There may also be, instead of dealing with sort of like outward progress and outward obstacles coming from friendships, networks, social media, you will be examining your inner sense of self-doubt and maybe what's stopping you from reaching your full potential. Let's not forget that there is a lot of action this month in Gemini. Uranus has shifted in late April to stay for 7 years all the way until 2033. We also have the Sun here from the 20th of the month. Venus is here until the 18th. Mercury is here from 17th of May until June 1st. So your third house is busy, 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 busy. What it means is you're busy, 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 busy. You're faster moving. Your mind is moving at 100 miles an hour. There's like a lot of ideas, a lot of phone calls, a lot of places to go. You're moving about in the neighborhood, taking train, taking bus, going on short trips. All of that is fun, and it's likely to bring maybe even romance with someone in the neighborhood with Venus here. It can help you write, it can help you move your business along. However, could also be really busy, too busy, right? So built into your busy, busy schedule, sometimes for reflection, introspection, quiet time, go get grounded, touch the grass, right? Especially with Mars entering Taurus, your second house on May 18th. Watch out also for impulsive spending this month. Try to be more sort of rational about what you spend on, and maybe make most of your financial decisions by May 18th, which is when Mars enters Taurus, the sign of its detriment. I'd highly recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle for this transit, or Exalted Moon, because those could be good for abundance and more strategic decisions, especially with Mars. Venus enters Cancer on May 18th, joins Jupiter here, will be here until June 13th. This is a really beautiful time for family, home improvement, real estate investments. You feel more nostalgic. You're more likely to call your family and go see family. You're maybe more inspired by your past and kind of soft and tender, sharing tales of your childhood, posting young pictures of yourself on social media. It's a beautiful transit. So between May 18th and June 13th, especially as Venus is hanging out with Jupiter, you can benefit a lot from your family at this point. And you may notice that like family or your biological or your adopted family brings a lot of support your way at this time. On May 31st, we have the full moon in Sagittarius in your 9th house, and that brings completion and change to the chapter started in late December 2025 and offers you a chance to complete a course of study. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. One of my students is an Aries rising, and that's around the time when we'll be finishing studies, astrological studies in my predictive course. But yeah, you might be completing a course of study, wrapping up a trip that you've been on for the last 6 months. Maybe you've gone on some kind of long work trip. You're maybe letting go of some outdated beliefs and changing your relationships with someone foreign, or becoming a teacher after being a student, perhaps. For more, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a reading, to sign up for my natal class that begins in September, and check out my offerings and share how this resonates. For the beautiful Taurus rising, April brought a lot of attention to your houses of work, physical health, and mental health. You may have realized how the two are intertwined and maybe had to go through some deep realizations, let go of expectations with Aries season, and realize how you are standing in your own way. There were also some opportunities to upgrade your look and become more visible during Taurus season and Venus in Taurus most of the month. And as Uranus entered Gemini in late April and Venus entered Gemini in late April, you could have felt a lot more open-minded and scientific and futuristic in terms of your sources of income. There could have been some sudden desire to liberate yourself from outdated ways of making money, as well as new opportunities to make money in more kind of Uranian, progressive, unique ways. In May, we continued to build on the energy from April. So we have still a few planets, a couple of, yeah, well, Saturn and Neptune are in Aries until for a while. But there's still Mars in Aries in your 12th house until May 18th. And so you're kind of working behind the scenes on things. You're maybe being really focused on your mental health, doing yoga regularly. There's a pigeon going crazy right behind me. I think there's probably a pigeon reproducing right behind me, so a little bit of that for you. So you're maybe like either still working on your mental health or you are working on your imaginative creative project. There's definitely, with Mars in the 12th house, there's a lot internally going on behind the scenes. We get the full moon in Scorpio on the 1st of the month in your 7th house. And so out of these deep realizations, out of you understanding that you need to take better care of yourself, even potentially out of you realizing that you want to do more healing work or you want to relocate somewhere to reach your fullest potential, may come a need to transform your relationships, right? The full moon completes chapters from November 2025 and offers you a chance to either move your commitments and partnerships forward or walk away from them. Realizing that a contract is done or a connection has outgrown itself may lead to you breaking away from it and sort of setting off on your own. All the while, as the relationships transform, you're getting a chance to invest in yourself. The sun has entered Taurus in late April, around April 20th, and Mercury's in Taurus until 17th of the month. Mars is here from May 18th. So, you know, if you're dealing with sort of disrupted sleep with Mars in your 12th house, that is going to improve after May 18th. And you're also going to get more opportunities to shine. You're likely to talk faster or talk about yourself more, be more self-aware, I would say. However, watch out with Mars here from May 18th until June 28th that you're not being kind of like passive aggressive. I'm just gonna fix my braid that got caught by my earring, so never mind that. So yeah, like be careful of being passive aggressive. Mars also rules your relationship house, so it might bring some relationships your way, but maybe people you're attracting are not necessarily really good at dealing with conflict. So you want to make sure that you're choosing your business and romantic partners carefully, especially from May 18th onwards until June 28th. I like a lot, so between May 10th and 16th, there's a lot of positive energy here. We have the Sun and Mercury sextiling Jupiter. We have a Mercury Cazimi, and we have a new moon in Taurus at 25 degrees 57 minutes, which will be especially important if you have planets between, or not even planets, but if your ascendant is between 22 and 29 degrees Taurus. So you're getting downloads, you're getting insights. Venus is in Gemini, so she suggests that you're very much focused on creating new financial opportunities for yourself. The Sun in the first allows you to be more visible to make money, right? There is, as the Sun sextiles Jupiter, you're getting support of siblings, people in your network, good opportunities to connect with people in the neighborhood, to move forward your creative writing communication projects. It's just a good kind of dates to mark on your calendar, the 10th, the 13th, and the 14th. Mercury Cazimi in the first house is especially powerful for insights about oneself and breakthroughs. And then the new moon on the 16th of May is deeply personal. It's your happy birthday. It's the rebirth new moon, right? You're starting again, obviously with all the knowledge you possess, but it's a good time to start a new workout routine, start a new business, start a new passion project, work on your hobbies and things like that. Pluto is stationing retrograde on May 6th and will be retrograding in your 10th house until October 15th this year, which will offer you a chance to look at your desires, look at your obsessions, look at your power and control issues in your professional life. When Pluto is direct, right, up until now, you're likely to encounter outside forces and obstacles that come from bosses. Other people are trying to control you, dominate you, restrict your progress and things like that. When Pluto is retrograde, there is a lot more awareness of how you are behaving, what you are doing, what you're saying, right? And there are a couple of like hot potato dates here, and that's specifically May 5th and May 26th, as Mars and Taurus will square this Pluto. So pay attention. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish professionally and what drives you? Maybe it's the time to let go of some, let's say, like selfish pursuits and focus on doing work that is good for the community. And if you pivot, right, if you stop focusing on other people not giving you what you want, but instead focus on doing work that serves other people, you may notice a lot of opportunities sort of unlocking through that. The focus on your second house continues also pretty much the whole month, because we have either Venus or Mercury or the Sun here, and Uranus is now in Gemini in your second house. So the more open-minded you are right now, the more willing you are to embrace like unorthodox people and situations, the more you're willing to be like, use AI or technology or science or communicate about something that is like Uranian and Promethean and sort of enlightening, the more likely you are to create financial stability and abundance. And so there are new beginnings in how you spend money, in what you value, right? You're maybe also realizing that what you value right now is not having a crazy big bank account, but instead you value doing work that ignites passion within other people. So there may be some kind of pivoting, right? And like a lot is happening right now in your houses of like ideas and community with Pluto and Gemini both. And so maybe the work that you're seeking to do is connected to working for the government or working in a large organization, things like that. Venus is blessing your third house from May 18th until June 13th. She's together with Jupiter here. So from May 18th, there is quite good energy in regards to working with siblings, starting a business, and exploring your passions, taking exams, going on short trips, meeting someone in the neighborhood could be lovely, just also enjoying local spots and places. And then we have a full moon in Sagittarius on May 31st. It completes chapters started in December 2025 and offers you a chance to pay off debts, to address any insurance payments, to both let go of commitments and burdens that don't feel fair and feel too heavy, and maybe wrap up some financial matter, right? If you've been involved with someone owing you money or you owing someone money, or you've been dealing with inheritance for a while. And then as you let go of some of that, there may also be an opportunity to embrace more vulnerability, more honesty, more healing in your life. Share how this resonates, and if you'd like to discuss these transits or talk to me about your relationship, your year coming up, anything else, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also register for my upcoming natal astrology course there. It starts in September, and pick up any of my candles. For Gemini risings, April brought a lot of attention to your social networks and your desire to build a community or get involved with the world at large. Perhaps a desire to make a difference in the world with the Aries, fire, power amount of transits we've had. There was also a full moon in Libra early in the month, bringing change to your romantic relationships, perhaps change to your child's life or your creative projects. And then Venus in Taurus offered you opportunities to get away. You maybe felt a little bit more private. And if you had any relationships, new relationships or existing relationship, it could have been more behind the scenes instead of in public. While Venus entering Gemini on April 24th and Uranus entering Gemini could have sped up your life and increased your restlessness and desire for change and new beginnings. It's a big transit that very much will continue to take shape and encourage you to be independent, futuristic, and innovative. So in May, we still have Mars in Aries, your 11th house, until May 18th. And Mars here encourages you to be proactive. You're more likely to start group projects, advocate for other people, volunteer, exercise with your friends, but you're also in danger of fighting with friends a little bit more, especially around early first 8 days of the month as Mars squares Jupiter. You may find yourself trying to do too many things and juggle too many balls and try to sort of make too many people happy. So try to take it slow and avoid overextending yourself early in the month. We get the full moon in Scorpio, your 6th house, on the 1st of the month. It is ruled by this Mars in Aries in your 11th house. And it offers you a chance to examine, transform, and release professional relationships, health habits that don't serve you anymore, and work dynamics that perhaps need attention. So you may find yourself overcoming a health issue around this time that maybe calls back all the way to November 2025, which is when we had a new moon in Scorpio. You're maybe transforming your work situation, as mentioned, maybe dealing with some conflict at work with colleagues. Your pets can also be important at this time, especially the health of the pet might be highlighted, and maybe some changes need to be made, like starting to feed them different kind of food, or if the pet is getting older, maybe some medicine that you need to start giving them. But really, this is a chance to examine, I think, what is draining you. Versus with Mars in the 11th, like there are certain things that you're inspired by, and they're likely to include community, the world at large, and getting connected with like-minded people, and something in your everyday work sector might be outdated and you need to let that go. And even examining your health habits that do not serve is good at this point. There are a lot of transits in Taurus, your 12th house, including the Sun sextile Jupiter on May 10th, Mercury sextile Jupiter on the 13th. Both are very positive. There's a Mercury Cazimi on the 14th, and the new moon on the 16th of May. So a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and while this may not be immediately apparent, you may have to wait for the Sun to enter Gemini on May 20th, but there are definitely some developments here in terms of healing and building your self-worth, right? Especially with that Jupiter connection. There may be some financial ideas that are coming to you. There may be opportunities to move that you're exploring. You're working on something without necessarily other people knowing it yet. You may start to talk about it more from the middle of the month when Mercury enters Gemini and conjoins Uranus, and suddenly you come out and you're like, I am moving to Korea on June 1st. And people are like, why Korea? And you're like, because I've been thinking, I've been Googling, all of that kind of stuff. There may be like a sudden change to your personality that is you're encouraged to talk about, right? With that Mercury-Uranus conjunction in like mid-May. So, yeah, since we're talking about first house, right? Like, from May 20th, the Sun is also in your first house. Venus is here until May 18th. Mercury is mentioned, and you are getting empowered and energized to make changes in your life. And with Uranus, you're becoming Uranus. You're becoming this Promethean character, somebody who steals fire from gods and brings it down to earth, who teaches, empowers, encourages other people, who maybe revolutionizes how the world sees you and revolutionizes the lives of other people in the process. All of the planets in Gemini will be harmoniously aspecting Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house. So there's very much support, and trining Pluto in your 9th house. So community-oriented pursuits, education, travel, teaching, studying, all of that is good at this point. Pluto is going retrograde in Aquarius between May 6th and October 15th in your 9th house. And that could offer you a chance to, instead of making outward progress or dealing with outward questions about how to move, how to, like 9th house is about education, it's about travel, it's about beliefs, philosophy, legal matters. So Pluto direct could have brought some real tangible problems, while Pluto is retrograde. It could be a little bit more about examining your beliefs and how your beliefs create your reality, instead of being like, oh, I have this boss who keeps making me travel to places I don't like. Instead, Pluto retrograde will be a good time to sort of reflect on how much power you actually have over your life and how you can bring the perfect vision of your life into being and existence. I love Venus entering Cancer, your 2nd house on May 18th. She's going to be here until June 13th, the whole time, co-present with Jupiter. This could be a sign of financial benefits. You may be making some money, but also kind of having to compromise because of the square from Venus to Neptune and Saturn in your 11th, because you're possibly looking at the best type of work for community or your dreams versus the financial gains. And so there may be a little bit of having to take a pay cut, but do work that fits your happiness and your goals and your vision. So be ready to compromise, but overall, Venus in Cancer, especially in June, maybe you do compromise, but later realize that the compromise was worth it. But it could be a sign of financial questions. More spending, maybe. Hopefully, I actually quite like Venus in the 2nd house as like good for investing in yourself or in creative objects like art, because what you get right now is more likely to increase in value over time. And then on the 31st of the month, we get our 2nd full moon this month, which makes May quite unique. We get the full moon in Sagittarius in your 7th house. It completes chapters started in December and brings change, transformation, endings to your relationships and partnerships, contracts and agreements. Either you commit to an agreement, a situation, a partnership, or you may choose to let something go at this point if it doesn't satisfy, fulfill you, or bring you enough rewards financially, because Jupiter, financially or spiritually, right? You're maybe kind of examining situations based on your increased sense of self, and with Uranus in the 1st house too, right? Your desire for freedom, independence, and certain professional contracts may be severed at this time. Relationships may end if they don't allow freedom. Share how this resonates and visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, for readings, courses. My natal class begins in September, and pick up this soothing exalted moon candle. Highly recommend. For the beautiful Cancer rising, April was so professionally busy. You've had 6 planets at one point, if you count Chiron, 7 in your work house. You maybe dealt with a lot of, like, you worked a lot, you've had busy hours, you maybe dealt with some obstacles, roadblocks on your professional path. Your home sector could have required some attention, especially early in the month with a full moon in Libra. But Aries season was just all about your public life, being more visible, being more assertive, more dominant even, but also having to face harsh lessons and energy. Venus in your 11th house until April 24th offered you opportunities to network, have some fun, hang out with friends, and then she entered Gemini from the 24th, and Uranus entered Gemini, potentially inspiring spiritual, mental, and personal revolution that might begin behind the scenes. More on that in a minute. So in May, the first sort of 3 weeks of the month, there is still Mars in your 10th house of career. So you're still busy. Whether you're looking for a new job, starting a business, busy with your existing profession, that will be up to each individual. But there is a lot going on. Even if you're not working anymore, let's say you're retired or you're a stay-at-home mom, there's still going to be a lot of sort of public expectations placed on you. If you're retired, maybe you're involved with some community organization. If you're a stay-at-home mom, maybe you're helping at your child's school and it just feels like heavy and burdensome at times, but maybe you're also inspired to take action. Mars will square Jupiter around May 4th, 4 days before, 4 days after. And so there may be some unique opportunities to express your wisdom under pressure. Watch out though for doing too many things, because this transit just screams as like you're trying to be wise and generous, and Mars in the 10th just keeps bringing you problems and you keep trying to stay calm, but it might be too tough, too rough to do all of those things. The full moon in Scorpio on May 1st completes chapters from November 2025 and brings change to your love life. If you started liking someone or you met someone back in November last year, you may decide to give the relationship a try. If you've been dating someone but the relationship feels restrictive, you may choose to let it go. The ruler of this full moon is Mars in Aries in your 10th house. So you may also be looking at your life through the lens of pleasure and fulfillment, and realizing which ones of your passions are not serving you versus which ones can help you feel more accomplished, right? But there might be, this full moon is intense because Scorpio energy is often intense. So there may be some deep emotions that involve parenthood, children, love that you need to address, and habits that you need to clear and release. Taurus sector of your chart is busy all month. There are some positive transits here on the 10th, 13th, 14th, and 16th of the month, as we get the Sun, Mercury to sextile Jupiter, the Cazimi on the 14th, and the new moon on the 16th. Lots of sextiles to Jupiter, which sits in your first house. I think I like this a lot for starting new things that involve community. Maybe starting a YouTube channel, maybe starting a book club, getting your friends involved. The sextile to Jupiter is this sort of supportive energy. You're coming across as respectable and wise, and you're very generous right now, and you're also wanting to learn or teach or empower other people. And so there may be community of people who are like-minded. You're maybe meeting people who are like-minded, having important conversations, especially around the 14th with the Cazimi, getting inspired by other people. So welcome new connections and new networking opportunities, as well as perhaps social media to help you reach your goals. Pluto stations retrograde in Aquarius on May 6th, will be retrograde until October 15th in your 8th house, helping you reflect on power, control in regards to money, in regards to karmic entanglements with other people. When Pluto is direct, you're maybe sort of consciously thinking of paying off debts, thinking of making investments, thinking of getting involved with other people. And Pluto is retrograde, you begin to ask yourself how your perhaps beliefs about finances and about sharing and what other people owe you create the reality around you. And so there may be opportunities to sort of examine your thoughts on fairness in relationships and bring upon different dynamics through more self-awareness. The Sun enters Gemini on May 20th. Venus is here until the 18th. Mercury is here from the 17th until June 1st. And Uranus is, of course, here. So this is the big transit that we talked about in April, with Uranus entering your 12th house. Uranus serves to illuminate. And the Sun here will help to illuminate certain things. Venus, Mercury as well. So you may be noticing that you're becoming more self-aware, that you're seeing things that people don't talk about. Your intuition is highlighted. Your dreams are colorful and bring important lessons. You are more insightful. You can see your relationship destructive tendencies more clearly. It could be a really powerful month for therapy. It could also be a good month for working on spiritual sources of support, right? Building some kind of practice around yoga, around journaling, learning astrology. It can actually be Uranus in your 12th house could be a beginning of a 7-year-long period in which you not just get interested in those things, but you commit to something. Investigate the spiritual forces in your life by learning about them or exploring them more. If you're interested, my natal class begins in September, as I have mentioned already. I love that Venus enters Cancer on May 18th. She'll be here until June 13th, together with Jupiter. Really beautiful because Venus here makes you more charming. You're likely to be quite adaptable and good at getting along with people, and it's a good time to improve your look, to go on dates, to change your wardrobe. Could be a really great time, and other people, I think, will support you and will find you extra appealing. So whatever you need to ask, any help you need, now is the time to do it. The full moon in Sagittarius, your 6th house, on May 31st, our second full moon this month. So many things to talk about. Brings change, transformation, endings to your house of work, health, and service. If you've been dealing with a health issue from December, let's say, when we had the new moon in Sagittarius, now you may wrap it up. You may get a good bill of health because Jupiter is the ruler of this full moon. It's in your 1st house. It maybe encouraged you to examine certain patterns and get more real about how you take care of yourself. A professional project may wrap up, or a situation at work with a colleague may require your attention. Matters involving pets may be important at this point too. And a lot of it will also be, I think, about beliefs. It's a pretty big month for beliefs with Sagittarius energy and the Jupiter being quite enmeshed with a lot of things, and Jupiter being in your 1st house. You really have the power right now to create your reality. So what you believe, you manifest. And this full moon will bring that upon, right? Like if you have health issues that you've been dealing with, what is this saying about certain blockages of energy and outdated ideals that you maybe need to release to create better wellness? Ooh. Visit Anastasia.astrology.com for readings classes. Highly recommend either Moon in Cancer or Exalted Moon Creations because you are a moon child. For Leo rising, April brought a lot of action in the education sector. Maybe you took some exams, you maybe traveled more or planned trips. You may have questioned your place of living and where you want to live, and invested a lot in studying or teaching and connecting with people who can inspire you as well. There could have been also some obstacles with Saturn and Neptune, some confusion, like maybe you've felt ready for an adventure, but you didn't quite know how to make it happen, both a literal adventure travel, trip to a faraway land, or a more spiritual adventure. We've had Venus in Taurus in your 10th house, could have brought pleasant experiences with authority figures, bosses, creative projects into your life, opportunities to get approval or even rewards financially. And then from the 24th of April, Venus and Uranus enter Gemini, your 11th house, inspiring more social activity, more attraction to quirky individuals, and more opportunities to innovate how you do social media, friendships, and things like that. In May, we have Mars in Aries until May 18th still. So you still have the fiery energy of Mars and its domicile helping you teach, study, travel, plan things, write any documents, or, ninth house is traditionally the house of publishing. So maybe you're feeling inspired to share your thoughts and wisdom. Watch out for power struggles or ideological battles, especially when it comes to like religion and politics and things like that. Mars can easily fire you up to get involved in a fist fight with someone, more likely with words, right, than the physical fist fight, but still watch out for that. Instead, use this energy to study, to, create a routine that has some sort of like spiritual lineage in it. Investigate a religion that you like and plan those adventures that you would want to go on. If on the 1st of May, we have the full moon in Scorpio, your 4th house, that is ruled by this Mars and Aries. And so you're maybe realizing certain disconnect with yourself and people in your life, specifically family members, in regards to beliefs. You may realize that your sister voted for someone you would never vote, or your brother-in-law supports people that you don't support. And so the full moon can bring these like intense conversations, realizations, and transformations in that regard. Maybe realizing who you want to be close with versus who you want to distance yourself from. It can also bring change in the shape of moving, completing a home improvement project, buying or selling a property. Reflect on November when we had a new moon in Scorpio in your 4th house. What got started back then is likely to come full circle now. Your house of career is pretty much active all month with the Sun, Mercury, and Mars from May 18th in Taurus. And you're continuing to shine, to be more visible. The Sun and Mercury both sextile Jupiter in the 12th house. So doing work that involves spirituality, that involves astrology, that involves travel, healing, working with people who need maybe psychological help. You may be finding yourself being more visible professionally and stepping into this sort of role of a teacher, guide, healer. Pay special attention to May 14th when we have a Mercury Cazimi. It can be highly insightful in regards to your career and what you want, not just career, right? But like how you want to be seen by the public, because 10th house is more than just career. It's also what you do in the world. And then we have a new moon here on May 16th, which could be a new job, a new business idea, a new professional relationship. It's an exciting one. It's sort of this time of birthing something new in your professional life or presenting a different face to the world. Pluto goes retrograde in Aquarius on May 6th and will be retrograde until October 15th in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. And so when Pluto is direct, which it was up until now, you often deal with outside obstacles outside of yourself, right? Partners that are being evasive, somebody you talk to and then they disappear, people being controlling or trying to invade your space, and pushing you to your limit. When Pluto is retrograde, so this period between May 6th and October 15th, it becomes a lot more about looking at yourself and asking what kind of things you do. Maybe subconsciously, most likely subconsciously, what kind of things you do to bring upon those experiences, right? Maybe you, when you enter a new relationship, maybe you believe that it's going to fail or someone's going to lie to you. And so you attract those kind of situations, right? Maybe you tell your partner that you, I don't know, you feel they're going to do something and then they go and prove you right and do something you don't want them to do. So there may be a lot of kind of introspection in regards to relationships, and also question around sex and power and intimacy and how much you protect yourself, perhaps trying to avoid pain and avoiding closeness in the process as well. We have a lot of transits through your 11th house with the electric Uranus, now there for 7 years. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini between November 7th, July 7th and November 7th, actually. And there's also the Sun in Gemini from the 20th, Venus here until the 18th, and Mercury here between 17th of May and June 1st. And your social life is really busy this month. You are going to more parties, you're seeing your friends more, you're feeling more supported. Uranus can bring these sort of shakeups, right? And maybe reveal to you which friendships restrict your freedom, and then you would want to break away from that. There may also be a sense of attracting Uranian people, really just sort of unusual individuals coming into your life and you being welcoming and being like, the more weird you are, the more I like you, or you becoming the weird one, the odd one out, right? Sharing your love for astrology, speaking about Bitcoin or something along those lines, being the one who's like, let's talk about this. And people are like, this is, I don't know anything about it. And you're being like, let me tell you, because of the Mercury and the Sun. And yeah, Venus and Mercury all connect with Saturn and Neptune, the Sun as well. So could be like a very interesting time of realizing how you can help your community by being the Prometheus who steals fire from the gods and brings it down to the poor humans. I love Venus in Cancer from May 18th until June 13th. She's co-present with Jupiter. It's a good time to get away. It's a good time to take it easy. If you're dating someone new, it's likely to be private and sort of behind the scenes. Watch out for being passive aggressive, and watch out for, yeah, like speak things as they are. Be careful of like trying to make people do things. That could be sometimes the danger here. And we have the full moon on May 31st in Sagittarius, your 5th house. We've had a new moon here in late December 2025, and now it's a full moon. So that was the beginning. Now it's the change. This could bring an end to a relationship if it feels like it's not fulfilling. Could bring a chance to move a relationship to the next level, commit to it, make things official. You may wrap up a creative project, or your child may go through a change in their life. As well as here, you may choose to look at your habits, right? Jupiter being the ruler in the 12th house, and let go of any sort of overindulgence and unhealthy tendencies. Share how this resonates and visit anastasiadoesastrology.com for readings. Join my natal astrology course. It begins in September, and also pick up some of my supportive lunar candles, Exalted Moon, Almond Moon, or Moon in Cancer. For the beautiful Virgo rising, April brought a lot of attention to your personal finances and your debts, your loans, your entanglements with other people. You may have felt more aware of what makes people tick and asked a lot of questions, trying to understand others, maybe through astrology or observing people. There could have been some opportunities to take out loans, mortgage, or wrap up some of those projects, right? Some of those financial, or figure out like a better financial strategy to pay off some debts. some obstacles were also potentially likely with Saturn here. So maybe you had to move slowly while all you wanted is to go fast in a relationship or with money. There could have been some exciting trips with Venus and Taurus. And professionally, Venus entered Gemini after April 24th and Uranus entered Gemini on April 25th. You could have experienced a sense of reinvention. In fact, there is a lot of action throughout May in your 10th house of career, and Uranus continues to stay here. And we also get the Sun here from May 20th, Venus until May 18th, Mercury from May 17th until June 1st. So your career life is busy this month, and it begins in late April. We've had a preview of Uranus in Gemini between I keep saying the wrong date, between July 7th and November 7th. And Uranus is kind of twofold, right? It can make you more aware of your desire for change and innovation. And as you become more aware, you break away from something that doesn't serve you anymore. You make career choices that feel surprising to other people. However, if you're someone who is more prone to stay in situations for a long time and choose stability over risk-taking, Uranus can bring sudden developments that come from other people that are actually your inner need for change that you have manifested through other people. So it's an interesting month. It's definitely busy professionally. I would recommend ask yourself what you want and what you seek, and try to use this Uranus to actually consciously do something new. I have a Virgo rising student, and for her, I would say start doing astrology readings to people, right? Offer them that service, because that's very Uranian in my mind. So some other things that are important in May, we have Mars still in Aries together with Neptune and Saturn until May 18th. It squares Jupiter in your 11th house the first 8 days of the month. And this Mars could be good for advocating for yourself. Like if you need to call your insurance and ask them for a better premium, you have the fiery spirit to handle it all. You may find yourself helping other people solve their problems. However, it can also bring impulsive spending. It can also suggest fights around money and a sense of more clarity about what is fair and what is unfair in your life. And so you're kind of more willing to battle it out and discuss those things. The full moon in Scorpio on May 1st completes the chapter started in late November and brings change to your 3rd house of communication, schedule, siblings, neighbors, community. And so what's interesting is the ruler is Mars in the 8th house, right? And so Mars in the 8th wants you to either take on new financial dynamics or break away from old situations that don't feel fair, that demand too much of you. And so the full moon in Scorpio can be a time of really deep healing conversations. It could be a chance to declutter your mind and your space and open space for new beginnings. It can also be a good time to transform your life somehow. Let's say you're trying to pay off debt, and maybe the full moon in the 3rd suggests that instead of buying books, you join your library and you start renting books. And so that saves you a little bit of money. There might be, it's kind of like look closely at your everyday life to figure out how you can make little changes that create more freedom, I think. Another place that's really busy for you all month is Taurus, which is your 9th house of education, travel, religion, philosophy, astrology, and publishing. We have some lovely aspects between planets in Taurus and Jupiter in your 11th house. So you have a good community of people around you. You're feeling supported. Mercury Cazimi on the 14th can be very insightful and offer opportunities to study or teach, travel, bring upon new beliefs and things like that. And we have a new moon in Taurus on the 16th of May. So it's a really good month for travel. You may find yourself going on trips or planning trips. It could be a good month for studying. It could be a good month for writing. Overall, I think it highlights your desire for adventure, and the adventure could be mental or the adventure could be corporal, right? I think corporal. Whenever you take your body and move it places. So mental or bodily adventure. And like for some of you, I wonder with the new moon here, if maybe you're embracing a new kind of religion, or something, some kind of new way of thinking, new beliefs potentially. We have Pluto retrograding on May 16th. It begins its retrograde and it will last until October 15th through your 6th house. So Pluto retrograde here could encourage you to examine your self-defeating patterns, your power struggles, control issues that involve work, health, or service. With Pluto direct up until now, you may have been dealing with outside forces, right? Somebody being mean to you or somebody being controlling, manipulative. While Pluto is retrograde, it's very much about looking within and being like, how am I attracting these situations? What am I doing by not speaking? What am I doing by speaking to somebody else about the situation with my colleague, right? Like, what kind of things you're doing that maybe need to be examined, which is also quite supportive of the changes in your career sector that Uranus and Gemini is bringing about. Your social life is the place of blessings this month, and other people can be quite encouraging and helpful if we're thinking of Venus entering Cancer on May 18th to stay until June 13th and Jupiter being here. So great month to start a YouTube channel. Great month to go to a wedding and maybe meet someone you like. Ask someone out. Ask a friend to set you up. You have a community around you right now that is very kind and supportive and encouraging. And then finally, on May 31st, we have a full moon in Sagittarius that completes chapters started in December 2025 and brings change to your home, family, and living situation. You may wrap up a construction project. You may welcome first growth in your garden that you planted 6 months ago. I don't know if people plant things in December, maybe, depending on where you are. There could be opportunities to move. There could be opportunities to connect with family, even healing something from the past, right? Jupiter being the ruler of this full moon, sitting in Cancer in your 11th house, you may kind of feel benevolent towards your family as you realize that you have built a chosen family for yourself and you have connected with enough people to make you feel loved and supported. So that's an interesting full moon. Share how this resonates and visit anastasiadasastrology.com to book your reading. Study astrology with me. My natal class begins in September, or pick up any of these lunar, exalted moon, almond moon, or moon in Cancer candles for your emotional support, emotional health and wellness. My beautiful Libra risings, April brought a change in health, a need to take care of yourself with a full moon in Libra. There could have been a lot of action in your relationship sector, whether you are in a relationship or single. It could have brought some pressures on your connections, some tensions in the life of partner, and a need to find a good balance as you handled your duties to others and your duty to yourself. Venus and Taurus may have brought gifts in the shape of a larger tax return, a student loan forgiveness, maybe gifts from the partner, more generosity from others in your life. And then we've had this exciting Uranian shift as Uranus went into Gemini for 7 years, your 9th house. Could have stimulated your mind, encouraged you to teach or study new things, adventure, and express a more original, unorthodox side of your personality. So in May, we are continuing some of the energy of April with Mars still in Aries, your 7th house. So Mars in Aries could help you go on more dates. It could encourage you to go on active dates and maybe go skydiving, rock climbing, even with your partner or with your friends. It can help you move your business along. You're more driven, you're more courageous. Maybe your partner is starting to feel more energized as well after Mars has finally left Saturn. Watch out early in the month. Watch out trying to do too many things though, because Mars squares Jupiter on the 4th of May, and that's active 4 days before and after, and it could just feel as doing too many things at once and feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, and maybe not being able to do them all with the same kind of quality, having to lose some quality on the quantity of things you're handling. Early in the month on the 1st, we have the full moon in Scorpio, your 2nd house, which completes chapters from November 2025 and offers you a chance to pay off debts, to get a raise you've been waiting, to let go of some self-defeating patterns that affect your confidence, or maybe let go of some like some financial things. What's interesting is the ruler Mars being in the 7th house makes me think that maybe you're making financial choices that help you date or help improve your business or your romantic relationship, right? This could be maybe getting a financial advisor to help you like save some money so that you can help your partner who's going through a financial situation, right? Like you're kind of making choices on behalf of other people, even if that means like you're I actually have a friend in mind who's a Libra rising too, and she's been offering her parents help with relocating to Europe. And so full moon in Scorpio could very much be like, what kind of, how can I help you manage some things? So whether it's for your parents or your significant other or for your business, there may be some adjustments that need to happen, financially or otherwise. The sun shines light on your 8th house while it's in Taurus. Mars also comes here between May 18th and June 28th. And while this could be good for paying off debts or starting partnerships with other people, with Mars between May 18th and June 28th, you kind of have to watch out for being passive aggressive and fighting with people and sort of disagreements around money. There definitely could be some positive things happening, especially around May 10th and 13th as the Sun and Mercury sextile Jupiter, and the 14th as we get Mercury Cazimi. I think you're very aware of other people this month, and I would say try not to focus on other people too much, which is a challenge when you have a Libra rising. But not only Mars early in the month is in your 7th house of relationships, but there's also a lot of planets in Taurus, which is your 8th house of other people's resources. And so it could be good for collaborating with other people, but it could also suggest that you're too focused on what other people are doing, that you're distracting yourself from what's important for you. The new moon in Taurus on May 16th is ruled by Venus and Jupiter in your 9th house, and it could suggest new partnerships that are education related, that are travel related, maybe new joint bank account or new plan. You're sort of thinking of like a partnership, a relationship, and some kind of financial commitment to moving or traveling. Maybe you're planning a trip with somebody else and you're sending links to each other and you're splitting bills, splitting costs of things, or you're exploring student loan applications, scholarship applications, kind of examining what resources are out there for you is what this energy could be good for, and asking for help as well. Pluto goes retrograde in Aquarius on May 6th and will be retrograde until October 15th in your 5th house, bringing opportunities for inner examination, introspection, and reflection on power issues, power struggles, control issues in love, creativity, and relationships with children. You may become more aware of jealousy, of indulgence, of bad habits, of fears that are connected to love, and instead of dealing with outward obstacles in the shape of, oh, I can't meet anyone, there will be more opportunities to dive in and be like, oh, I am scared to meet people, and then work through that or work with that. Your Gemini sector is busy all month. Uranus is here now. The Sun is here. Venus, Mercury at some point in the month. Mercury is potentially especially exciting between May 17th and June 1st. But Venus until May 18th is also quite good. Could be a good time to travel. Could be a good transit for writing. I should get started on my 2027 planner. So if you were waiting for some benevolent time to come up with ideas or, you know, move things forward, this could be the time when you're like full of ideas, you're better at learning, you're better at teaching, you're feeling more sort of, your mind is faster. I would recommend that you have some time, or you take some time to relax and breathe and meditate, because it could be like a really busy, intellectually stimulating time. Venus enters Cancer on May 18th, will be here until June 13th, co-present with Jupiter. This is really good for your career. It could inspire more visibility, more partnerships professionally, more joy from the work that you're doing. If you're looking for work, this could be a good time to ask people for help and take action to manifest. Forgive me 1 second. Take action to manifest better career. There might also be better projects coming your way, better professional relationships, a sense of other people approving of you, recognizing of you. We're almost done with Jupiter in Cancer, right? On June 30th, it leaves. So take advantage of this transit and really try to bring forward something magical and beautiful in your professional life or in your public life, right? Express yourself in a new way. Finally, on May 31st, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, your 3rd house. It brings completion, changes, endings to the chapter started in late December 2025, and offers you an opportunity to examine outdated beliefs, examine your everyday life and your schedule. The ruler is Jupiter in Cancer in your 10th house, so your goal is to create more growth professionally. And so I think the full moon in Sagittarius suggests that you can't do it all, that sometimes you have to wrap up something, right? So here you might be looking at your schedule. Maybe you used to have a second job, but you realize that it's taking too much time and it blocks you from taking risks in the existing job. Maybe you have a side business that maybe you're doing, doing a few things, or maybe you don't have a home office that is comfortable for you to work from, anything like that. And opportunities to have conversations and restructure your everyday life could be coming up around this time. Maybe changes also in the lives of siblings and neighbors, and opportunities to wrap up a community project or get more involved with community if you're opening space for something like that. Share how this resonates and visit my website to book a reading, to join my natal class that begins in September, or to pick up these magical, supportive, exalted moon in Cancer 3 or almond moon candles. For Scorpio rising, April was very work heavy as we dealt with a stellium of planets in Aries. You maybe faced some obstacles, some heaviness, difficult conversations, situations, and needed to problem solve. The full moon in Libra brought attention to your need to have a better mental and physical health balance. There were some good times romantically as Venus transited through Taurus, and as Venus and Uranus entered Gemini, your 8th house, you became more aware of your karmic debts and agreements, as well as the need to free yourself from heaviness and obligations that do not fulfill you. In May, we continue the themes that begun in April, even potentially earlier than that, as Mars stays in Aries until May 18th, your 6th house. It helps you problem solve, it helps you take care of your health, exercise, implement better practices. It's finally separated from Neptune and Saturn, so you're maybe gaining a little bit more clarity and figuring out how to handle things. However, watch out for doing too much and overwhelming yourself, especially the first 8 days of the month as Mars squares Jupiter. And you may try to pair independence with care for other people, and it may feel like all too many things. As Mars is in your 6th house early in the month, it rules the lunation, the first lunation of the month, the full moon in Scorpio, your 1st house on the 1st of May. This full moon completes personal chapters started in November 2025 and again highlights the need for better self-care as you think of becoming a mom, as you follow your professional goals, as you take care of your parents, whatever might be happening in your life. The full moon in Scorpio really reminds you that you need to take care of you and you need to get your life more organized, or you need to basically, you can't have good relationships if you're not happy, if you're not filling your cup. And so with Taurus season this month, we have the Sun, Mercury, Mars, all in Taurus at some point of the month. Mars, your chart ruler, enters Taurus on May 18th. We'll stay here until June 28th. The focus is very much on relationships. And so the full moon on the 1st of the month tells you or reminds you to look within and to, on one hand, maybe celebrate what you've accomplished, right? And on the other hand, prioritize personal wellness so that you can be a better partner, a better parent, a better business owner, and things like that. Really lovely energy on May 10th and 13th as the Sun and Mercury in Taurus sextile Jupiter. Maybe a good time to build partnerships that involve travel, education, writing partnerships, legal partnerships. Mercury Cazimi on the 14th can bring insights and important conversations in relationships, increase your connection as well. And then the new moon on May 16th offers new beginnings in your romantic sector. Romantic and business, so things like a new relationship entering your life, changes to an existing relationship, opportunities to move in together, opportunities to travel together with your partner, business developments as well, beginning of a business partnership, or some kind of important contract, maybe some type of benevolent, beneficial contract that may be coming into your life. It could be a good time to negotiate and get the agreements that you seek. On May 6th, Pluto begins its retrograde in Aquarius, your 4th house, and until October 15th, it will offer you, instead of outward obstacles, tensions, power struggles, it will give you a chance to reflect and understand things you haven't healed, understand control issues, power struggles. I think the big question here is, where are you giving your power away? And how can you become more happy, more self-sustained, right? In a lot of ways in the 4th house. How can you set better boundaries, reclaim your power, and also what type of beliefs you have around family, comfort, security that are preventing you from feeling at ease, right? Maybe it's the fear of asking for help. Maybe it's a fear of being vulnerable. Maybe it's an unresolved childhood wound of your parents always fighting, and so you never want to fight in your relationship. There may be deep insights about early conditioning and your early life. As Uranus and Venus begin the transit through Gemini in late April, the Sun also joins and Mercury joins between May 17th and June 1st. You are like from the middle of the month, especially, or from May 20th, when the Sun enters your 8th house, or actually the whole month, right? Like we have Taurus transits, 8th house, Gemini transits. You're very relationship oriented. And you're maybe starting new agreements, you're starting a joint bank account, you're working on collaborating with other people. It can actually be a really good month to negotiate and to be really honest and vulnerable. Mercury in your 8th house can be very helpful for putting your head together with someone else and coming up with some type of joint venture, joint creation. It can also be the time when you're paying off debts, you're negotiating insurance rates, you're applying for loans, or you're paying loans off and things like that. So it could be a good transit. Just watch out for being too caught up in the other people's business, right? Sometimes the challenge of the 8th house transits and the 7th house transits for that matter is that your ego, your sense of self gets intertwined with your relationships, and that's fair to some extent, but you don't want to completely get yourself lost in worrying about other people. Venus enters Cancer on May 18th, will stay here until June 13th. This is great for travel. You will really enjoy going on trips. You may meet someone and start a romantic relationship. You may get inspired. Jupiter is here, getting inspired to learn something new, to speak a foreign language, to move to a faraway country. If you're single, for sure, it could be a sign of a vacation romance. If you're in a relationship, could be a great time to plan a getaway and go to some fun place for fun, or do go on a mental adventure by learning something. Finally, on May 31st, we have the full moon in Sagittarius, your 2nd house. This completes chapters started in December 2025, and offers you a chance to transform your beliefs. So the ruler is Jupiter in the 9th house of beliefs. So there may be some type of opportunity to examine your sense of self-worth with the 2nd house. We're thinking of like letting go of a lack mentality, letting go of certain fears, self-doubt, outdated ideas about oneself. And there might also be transformations in regards to money. You may quit a job, you may get a raise, you may pay off a debt, right? The financial sectors are quite heavily active this month. So there may be some opportunities to examine how you handle money and how your self-worth is tied with what you make or what you believe you are worthy of. Share how this resonates and visit anastasiadasastrology.com to book your personal reading. Come study astrology with me. My natal astrology course begins in September, or pick up this magical exalted moon candle. It falls in your 7th house of relationships and can give them a boost. If you are a Sagittarius rising, April highlighted your house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children. On one hand, you felt driven to connect and date and have fun, or spend time with your kid, or get pregnant. There could have been a lot of focus on moving a relationship forward. However, Saturn and Neptune maybe created some confusion, some obstacles in regards to having pleasure, some maybe literal walls between you and your partner, long distance relationship things, or some karmic things you had to address. There was also a full moon in Libra, bringing change and attention to your friendships. Venus in Taurus could have helped you enjoy professional relationships, go out with your colleagues, and perhaps improve your work situation or explore different habits. And then we've had later in the month, around the 24th of April, Venus and Uranus have entered Gemini, your 7th house, bringing back the energy from last summer. Between July 7th and November 7th, Uranus was tiptoeing into your 7th house and then tiptoeing back out. and encouraging freedom, change, relationship empowerment, right? Sort of innovation in relationships. This energy continues throughout the month as Uranus makes Gemini its home for the next 7 years, and the Sun joins later in the month. Venus is there, Mercury is there at some point this month. So your relationship sector is highlighted. Even with Mars being in Aries until May 18th, both, you know, your 5th house of romance and pleasure and your 7th house of committed relationships, business, both of them are active. Uranus here is an interesting influence because Uranus represents your need for relationships that are freeing, your need for change in relationships. You're maybe making moves and figuring out, like starting to date different people, unique people, or welcoming unusual kinds of relationships. Uranus often shakes things up, right? Like if you're someone who's always been in monogamous long-term relationships, Uranus comes in your 7th house and you're like, well, I've never explored, I've never played, I've never tried this, so let me sort of go on a quest to date around. If you've been dating around and you've been single for a really long time, Uranus can come into your 7th house and you're like, well, I've never been married, let's get married. So there may be some type of Uranian freeing energy here. Sometimes it shows up through a partner, but when that happens, let's say your partner, the most obvious, you know, low-hanging fruit here is the partner saying, I want to open up our marriage. And you may be shocked at first, or you may be like, where is this coming from? But a lot of times energy of the 7th house gets projected. So there may be something that you're craving that you're not willing to express. And then the partner comes in and speaks your words, but because you're maybe not not quite fully self-aware, it may come as a shock. So be open-minded, be flexible. Obviously, don't do things that don't sit well with you, but be open to playing. So as mentioned, Mars is in the 5th house until May 18th. It can be more helpful for dating, for pleasure, for creative projects, for parenthood. It gives you energy. And Mars rules the first lunation of the month, the full moon in Scorpio, your 12th house, on May 1st. The full moon in Scorpio completes chapters started in late November 2025, and it offers you a chance to examine your mental health, to let go of self-defeating patterns, and maybe bring some type of spiritual practice into your life. With the ruler Mars in the 5th, I wonder if Mars is making you aware of what you desire romantically, sexually, in love, and in regards to parenthood. And the full moon in Scorpio is just highlighting how you're standing in your own way, and where do you need to speak up more, where do you need to be more honest. It may bring to your attention strong feelings that you haven't fully addressed, because, you know, as a Sagittarius rising, you have this optimistic, cheerful, friendly, jokey energy to you, but your 12th house is Scorpio, and so there may be some intensity that you're not always aware of, and so this full moon does its best to make you aware of it. Lots of transits in Taurus with the Sun, Mercury, Mars comes here on May 18th, will stay until June 28th. Your 6th house. So professionally, you're very driven this month. You're maybe looking for work or handling a lot in terms of your job, maybe spending more time with your colleagues. I really like May 10th and 13th as the Sun and Mercury sextile Jupiter in your 8th house. So I could even see a bonus, a financial reward knocking on your door around this time. If you're looking for work, this could be a good month to go for it, especially again on the 10th or 13th, perhaps 2 days on each side for these transits. Negotiating, asking for better pay, asking for better work conditions. May 14th is really nice. There's a Mercury Cazimi. It could be enlightening, eye-opening professionally. And we have a new moon in Taurus on May 16th, which is ruled by Venus in your 7th house. So professional or work or everyday problem-solving changes that are necessary to make a relationship better. So I have a client who whose partner has moved to a different country, and so she's looking for work that can help her be more free to travel around. And this could be what this is about, right? Like the new moon in Taurus, ruled by Venus in the 7th house, could be very much be this opportunity to adjust your work life and adjust your health practices and even adjust how you handle mundane things in a relationship to maybe create more of a connection, more stability, more balance in your life. Pluto goes retrograde between May 6th and October 15th in your 3rd house, potentially bringing your awareness to self-defeating patterns of thought, power control issues with siblings, communication blockages, things that you're maybe not aware of, things that you do that set things in motion. So becoming more clear and self-aware as possible. And Jupiter is in the 8th house. Venus enters Cancer, your 8th house, on May 18th. We'll be here until June 13th. This is really great. Venus is hanging out with Jupiter in your 8th house. It's a good time to welcome blessings and support of other people. You may be getting rewards, bonuses, inheritance, returns on investment. Your partner may be benefiting financially and then being more generous with you. Really good times to, I think, apply for loans or get any support, financial or otherwise, that you might need. And on May 31st, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, your 1st house. It completes personal chapters started in late December 2025 and offers you a chance to honor your health, to figure out what's important to you, to speak up about your values, beliefs, and maybe release any beliefs connected to money and support, especially if you think that you should be a certain way or you should take care of things a certain way. Let's say you always want to pay for yourself and your partner wants to help you somehow. Like don't be too proud, Sagittarius. Let other people step up and help you. Visit my website to book a personal reading, study with me. My natal class begins in September, or pick up my supportive lunar candles. For the beautiful Capricorn rising, April was intense. There were so many planets in Aries in your 4th house, inspiring a lot of action in the home, a lot of negotiation around real estate, mortgage, lease, signing, maybe some obstacles in creating comfort and security, or some problems you had to solve in your home. As well as the full moon in Libra brought attention to your career sector, inspiring change and transformations there. You maybe had some good times with Venus in Taurus and Jupiter in Cancer, some dates, some romance, some ooh la la. Inspiration creatively could have been a fun thing in April. And then later in the month, Venus and Uranus hand in hand entered Gemini, inspiring you to innovate your professional life, innovate your habits, and maybe innovate your relationship with your pets. Could be. In May, we still have Mars early in the month until May 18th, first half of the month, basically, in Aries, your 4th house. It is separating from the conjunction with Saturn, so it's a little bit more free to do its thing. It can help you take care of home improvement projects, deal with family, negotiate things, spend time with family. You're maybe defending your family. You're maybe fighting with your family a little bit more, let's be honest. Watch out for overloading yourself, because you might be trying to balance family with relationships early in the month, and the danger could be in saying yes to too many things. Just watch out for that. Mars in the 4th rules the full moon in Scorpio in the 11th on May 1st. This full moon completes chapters started in November 2025 and brings changes to your friendships. Maybe a resolution of a conflict with a friend. It can bring completion of group projects. It can bring maybe social media, like a different social media role. It's all about your involvement with other people. And with Mars as a ruler in the 4th house, you're maybe looking at your kind of adopted family and people you consider family, and realizing how you love your friends or something like that. Celebrating time, spending time with friends, becoming more aware of who the true friend is likely. All the whole month of May, there's a lot of transits in Taurus, your 5th house. And it works very harmoniously with Jupiter in Cancer in your 7th house, especially on the 10th and 13th of the month, as the Sun and Mercury sextile Jupiter. This is a lovely time for dating. This is a really great time for... I'm just realizing that's my microphone is sort of sitting inside. Never mind. Okay. I digress. So it's a good time for relationships. It's a good time for creativity, putting yourself out there, starting partnerships that are creative. Perhaps you find a writing partner, or going on dates. It's a very sort of inspired, even fertile time when you can be making babies or making creative babies. The other powerful dates here are May 14th, when we get a Mercury Cazimi. Could be very insightful and inspirational. And then there's a new moon in Taurus on May 16th. So for those of you who are trying to get pregnant, this could be the month you get pregnant. And as far as romantic life and creative projects and other sort of fun, passion, pleasant activities, this new moon can be also helpful for that. Pluto goes retrograde in Aquarius, your 2nd house, on May 6th and until October 15th, encourages you to examine your values, to address any power and control issues when it comes to finances, to examine your lack mentality or fears that are preventing you from having abundance in your life. It could be a very transformative, more internalized period, especially if you have planets in early first 10 degrees of Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. With Uranus in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Mercury joins, the Sun joins later. There's a lot of action in your 6th house. You're maybe very innovative this month in terms of your health routines, coming up with new habits, exploring new health protocols, exercising, doing something quirky and unique. You're maybe feeling the need to be more independent in your job and making some changes that allow for that. And opportunities to discover... I like this for some kind of healing energy, right? Becoming a healer, sharing your knowledge with other people, and maybe even making money through that, because Uranus will be connecting with Pluto in your 2nd house. But it could be good for breaking away from anything, any habits that do not serve you, and exploring sort of revolutionary strategies in health and wellness. Venus enters Cancer, your 7th house, on May 18th and until June 13th, brings ease and joy and pleasure to your relationship sector. It is easier to network, it is easier to negotiate, it is easier to sign contracts. Venus kind of emphasizes the Jupiterian goodness you've had here since June 9th last year and boosts all of that. So any type of contract signing, negotiation that you want to do will likely go well, except maybe avoid kind of doing things on May 22nd or 28th as Venus squares Neptune and Saturn. The latter portion of this transit is a little bit better because Venus doesn't need to deal with Neptune and Saturn. And on May 31st, we have the full moon in Sagittarius, your 12th house. It completes chapters from December 2025 and highlights your private sector, your mental health, your spirituality, your self-defeating patterns, and either makes you aware of what you need to release right? With Jupiter as the ruler, you may be realizing how you're preventing yourself from having fulfilling relationships. If there's any self-doubt, insecurity, all of that can be highlighted, and you may be encouraged to let that go, as well as bad habits that involve sleep or scrolling on social media. Any sort of self-defeating tendencies might become more clear to you now, as well as the full moon in Sagittarius can offer you a chance to finish something you've been working on behind the scenes, a creative project, spiritual project. Maybe you commit to the idea of healing. Maybe you've been studying astrology and this full moon offers you a chance to start seeing clients. And if you are curious and you want to learn astrology, join my natal astrology course. It begins in September. You can sign up at Anastasia.astrology.com. You can also book a reading on there and pick up my lovely exalted moon candle. It's good for your house of pleasure, romance, and parenthood. For the lovely Aqua rising in April, we have had a lot of focus on communication. You could have been busier. You could have felt a little bit more burdened by responsibilities, by difficult conversations, I feel like third house Saturn just puts a lot on your plate and makes your schedule really busy and makes the weight of things feel a little heavier. There was also a full moon in Libra in the 9th, which highlighted your focus on education, travel, writing, and publishing, legal matters as well. Home could have been a place of respite and joy as Venus transited Taurus, and then later in the month, Venus entered Gemini together with Uranus, encouraging breakthroughs, new beginnings, unique relationships, experimentation and exploration in the house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children. So in May, we still have Mars in Aries, your third house, until May 18th. Now that Mars has separated from Saturn and Neptune, it kind of has more power to problem solve. It's facing less obstacles. So Mars can suggest that you're very busy, you're very active, you're taking care of business, you're moving around, maybe advocating for things, arguing with people. Watch out for arguing with people especially. And be careful overloading yourself, especially the first 8 days of the month as Mars squares Jupiter. I also would warn you against taking on too much around May 26th as Mars in Taurus by then squares Pluto. We have a full moon in Scorpio, your 10th house, on May 1st, completing chapters from November 2025 and bringing change to your professional sector. So Mars is the ruler of this full moon, and it is in the third house. And maybe you're learning new things, and that allows you to ask for a different title in your job. Maybe you're starting a business, and that allows you to quit the job that you don't like. Maybe you're learning some kind of, I mentioned learning, but maybe you're gaining some kind of communication skills, or you're writing a novel, and there may be shifts in terms of your career that come out of this sort of push for having more independence or this ability to deal with the obstacles. Let's say April brought a lot of issues. I have a friend who's had a lot of people quit, and so he had to hire a bunch of people and deal with people quitting. And so something good may come out of that, right? Like some kind of reward and maybe an increase in pay if you've persevered and you overcome challenges. So watch out for that around the time of the full moon. Taurus is highlighted all month. Mars enters here on May 18th, will be here until June 28th, and there is a lot going on in your house of home, family, and living situation. Mars is in its detriment in Taurus, so there might be a danger of being passive-aggressive, or someone in your family being passive-aggressive and not really resolving issues. There are a couple of supportive things here on May 10th and May 13th, the Sun and Mercury sextile Jupiter. We have a Mercury Cazimi on the 14th and the new moon on May 16th. So you're maybe changing something in your home. designing an office space for yourself, or building an extension to the house, or remodeling your bathroom. Moving is possible. Selling, buying a property, right? Maybe even anything that involves dealing with landlords and things like that, negotiating better agreements. Maybe you get your rent go down. When has that ever happened? But if you wanted to discuss it, May 14th is a good day to do that, around the time of Mercury Cazimi. But yeah, new beginnings in the home with family. Maybe you're starting a family. Comfort and security as well. Maybe you're starting to work from home and feeling more happy with the arrangement. Pluto goes retrograde in your first house on May 6th and until October 15th. It will encourage you to examine your internal blocks, reflect on power and control issues in your life, reflect on your health and how maybe your fears, unresolved things are affecting your health. You will feel this one especially strongly if your ascendant is in the first 10 degrees of Aquarius. This retrograde will be more significant, even the first 8 degrees of Aquarius, because Pluto is moving from 5 degrees back to 2, I think. And when Pluto is direct, which it has been up until May 6th, we may deal with outside obstacles. We may you may have dealt with, I don't know, your child's school being difficult, or your landlord being difficult, or some other people kind of coming in and annoying you, versus when Pluto is retrograde, it becomes more about internal feelings and patterns of behavior, self-defeating tendencies, and things you do subconsciously to bring about some maybe difficult situations. I'm not saying that they only come about because you bring them upon yourself, but there may be some realizations and some invisible things may come to light, and you may realize that there are certain things that you say or do or not do that cause strife and challenges in your life, because Pluto in Aquarius for you guys is all about inner power. We have a lot of action in Gemini as Uranus moves in fully. Venus is here until May 18th. Mercury is here between 17th of May and June 1st. And you are dating, you are dancing, you're exploring your passions, you're taking up swimming or something. It's all about having more fun. You're maybe attracting unique people or being more open-minded in terms of your love life, in terms of sex and relationships. Uranus here can be a sudden pregnancy, so just something to keep in mind. Use protection if you're not interested in that. But it could be quite a stimulating time when you discover Uranian, futuristic, progress-oriented pursuits and realize that those are fun for you. For example, astrology. Venus enters Cancer, your 6th house, on May 18th, and until June 13th, will hang out with Jupiter. This should help your professional life, make it easier to get things you're seeking, to work, connect with bosses. There may be a lot of fun going on at work, because then you're going out with your colleagues and building relationships with them. You may decide to get a pet if you don't have one, or spend more time with your pet maybe. And this could be also good for health, or exploring healing passions and learning about nutrition, exercise, and good habits. Finally, on May 31st, the full moon in Sagittarius brings change, completion, endings to your 11th house of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams. And this is the flashback, flash forward. Take a look at December 20th, I think, or late December 2025, when we had a new moon in Sagittarius. Maybe you joined a new friendship group, or you started a social media channel, or you began volunteering. So this full moon brings those things full circle and helps you celebrate some friendships potentially, as well as maybe examine certain outdated beliefs and release some connections and partnerships that do not nourish your soul. To nourish your soul, come study astrology with me. My natal astrology class begins in September. You can register at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also book a personal reading on there and pick up my Exalted Moon candle for mental and emotional peace. If you are a beautiful Pisces rising, April brought a lot of attention to your debts, loans, taxes, finances. We've had a lot of planets in Aries, including a new moon in Aries, and maybe you started a new job, maybe you quit a job. There could have been a lot of energy around, a lot of questions also around like self-reliance and finances and investments. Venus was in Taurus, your third house, most of the month, inspiring harmonious communication, joy from hanging out with siblings or neighbors, new business ideas, creative pursuits, new hobbies, or a chance to enjoy your hobbies. And then later in the month, from the 24th and 25th, Venus and Uranus enter Gemini, your fourth house, inspiring you to create change in the home, maybe even inspiring you to move and welcome a new family member. There could have been some kind of, it's a really long-term transit, so if you don't feel it yet, that's okay, but Venus would bring joy into your fourth house. And your fourth house is active all month, all May. So there's going to be, and it will stay active until 2033 with Uranus here for 7 years. So there's a lot of change potentially happening and coming to your home and family sector. If you're feeling stagnant, if you don't like where you live, if you're feeling controlled or restricted by your family, Uranus will offer you a chance to break away from that. It will offer you a chance to do things differently, right? For some people who maybe haven't been, if you're someone who's not close with your family, Uranus coming here might encourage you to give your family another chance. If you've always lived close to family, Uranus here can encourage you to move away and figure out what it's like to live away from your family. And again, and like this can also be an interesting time to explore your family conditioning and maybe realize how your childhood is still affecting you and break away, very Uranian word, break away from the past patterns and challenging experiences. Could be. Mars is in Aries, your second house, until May 18th. Now that it is separating from Saturn and Neptune, it has more freedom. It gives you the energy to look for work, to hustle, you're maybe spending more money. So that's something to be aware of, because Mars is impulsive. Aries is fiery and also impulsive. So it's like double impulsivity. Watch out for overexerting yourself, overspending, overcommitting early in the month, as Mars squares Jupiter on the 4th, so 4 days before, 4 days after. Mars in Aries also maybe suggests that you're seeking more financial independence. We have Saturn here and Neptune here. There may be some confusion, there may be some uncertainty about the future, some heaviness, but Mars in its home sign could be giving you some new ideas and bringing a spark of inspiration, new professional pursuits. As this is going on, we get the full moon in Scorpio, your 9th house, right at the start of the month on May 1st. And then this brings change, endings, completion, transformation to your house of education, travel, legal matters, publishing. So maybe you sell your novel, and Mars in the second is like, okay, go make money through writing. Maybe you quit your legal job because you've had enough and you can't do it anymore. Maybe you become a travel blogger or an astrologer professionally. There's, the full moon looks back at the projects from November 2025 and offers you a chance to complete them. But the ruler Mars is this underlying thing. Like, it really wants you to be independent, self-reliant, your own boss, or kind of have more freedom. And so maybe you decide to go to school and get education and transform your life this way. The full moon kind of offers you, I think, a chance to commit to a quest or let go of a quest. If you've been in school for a long time, the full moon in the 9th can also be about completing a course of study, and then your finances changing because you're now ready to do work. So financial changes are likely this month. As you've been going through it, do share if you have been. We have a lot of planets in Taurus all month. The Sun, Mercury, Mars comes into Taurus on May 18th. This is a vibe shift. It's very much an energetic shift. You've had Venus in Taurus in April. Now Mars is here. Mars is passive aggressive in Taurus. It's not direct. So there may be a danger of passive aggressive communication, tensions with siblings. Yeah, Venus was here. Venus was here in April, and maybe you were like, my sibling is my best friend. But now Mars comes in and you're like, nope, I remember why they irritate me. It's not going to be all challenging, but there may be some opportunities to examine relationships with siblings, neighbors, your everyday life, maybe make some improvements. You may also find yourself becoming more clear about your skills, your knowledge, and committing to those, right? There's a new moon here on the 16th of May. We have a Mercury Cazimi on the 14th. The Sun sextiles Jupiter, and Mercury does the same on the 10th and 13th. Jupiter is your chart ruler, so the focus is on making your everyday life better and maximizing your skills, I think, with the second house transits, whatever it is the period you're going through. Maybe you just bought a house. Maybe you just quit your job. Maybe you just committed to paying off debts, right? There's going to be this sense that in the third house, with the third house transits, you're looking to maximize your knowledge, your skills, and your everyday life to create more abundance in your life, especially with Taurus. We're talking about that. Even maximize your relationships. You may be starting a business, a writing project, a blog, a website. I think the big question here is like, how can you match your everyday life? How can you live your everyday life as if you're already successful, as if you're already a writer, as if you're already professional astrologer and things like that? So that's my question for you. Pluto goes retrograde in Aquarius, your 12th house, between May 6th and October 15th, encouraging you to dig deep and examine power and control issues, self-sabotage, and self-defeating tendencies. It can help you become more aware. It can also encourage you to connect with your inner wisdom and apply it to helping other people. But first, you may need to clear the air, right? And sort of release things and transform power struggles and inner issues and inner fears. And this is especially significant if you have any planets between like 0 and maybe 8 degrees Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, or Taurus. Otherwise, you may not feel it dramatically, but Pluto in Aquarius really wants you to both heal what hasn't been healed and maybe become a healer, or even connect with your imagination, with your psychic talents, with your spiritual gifts, and use them for good. And the Gemini transits in the 4th house can also be quite supportive of that, right? Like as mentioned, Uranus in the 4th really wants you to have more freedom of movement. It wants you to break away from the old. It wants you to implement new practices of maybe working from home, maybe healing from home, maybe just being more free. Venus enters Cancer. Love, love, love Venus transits through the 5th house. You are romantic. This is great for new relationships, dating. You're not necessarily going to be aggressive about finding relationships. They're more likely to find you. You can manifest them. If you're in a relationship, sexy times, baby making times, very soothing, fertile, beautiful period. Jupiter is here, so Venus is hanging out with Jupiter. your chart ruler. So could be great for creative passions, creative projects, baby making, spending time with children, and also just like connecting with your inner child, I think. Being kind to yourself and enjoying yourself. Definitely a good transit for love. And finally, on May 31st, we get the full moon in Sagittarius, your 10th house. Completing chapters started in December 2025 and bringing change to your professional life. You're maybe wrapping up a project, you're maybe getting a raise, you're maybe quitting your job, starting a business, becoming a teacher, becoming a boss. The ruler is Jupiter in Cancer in the 5th house. So the change might be inspired by getting pregnant. Let's say you got pregnant and so now you're taking time off to be with your child. Or it could be inspired by your desire to do fun things, to follow your passions, to do creative things. Maybe even change at work that's inspired by the change in your romantic status. A lot of possibilities here. If you have anything to share, any reflections, put them down below, drop them down below, and visit my website, anastasia.astrology.com, to book your personal reading. Study astrology with me. My natal class begins in September, and pick up my Exalted Moon candle for emotional peace and wellness. And thank you so much for watching, for being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please press that subscribe button. Helps me grow, helps me make my way. I have recently celebrated 5 years on YouTube, so thank you so much. I wouldn't be here without your support. It really makes me feel good to know that like so many of you watch my videos and like my work. So thank you guys. And I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye.